The same thing is happening in Taiwan, and we may be paying attention to it now. It's been happening for the better part of a decade. And if you just look at Chinese influence on Taiwanese elections, if you just Google that and then put the word October in there, you'll see that the world woke up to it in October of 2023 for an election that happened in January of 2024.
That's hilarious.
That doesn't mean that the Chinese were building that pipeline for decades.
Yeah.
And it worked. And then now that the Congress of Taiwan is controlled by a pro-China team, it really doesn't matter what the figurehead says. Chinese are exercising more in the international waters. The Chinese in the most recent National Congress that just happened like 4 days ago, they stopped talking about a peaceful reunification with Taiwan. What'd they say? They said, we must take a forceful or rigid. Yeah. They used a very different word, but it was something along those lines, approach to our reunification with Taiwan.
I mean, what an amazing advantage that they would have on us if we don't have time to build up a semiconductor business and they absorb Taiwan peacefully. What if they don't even have to be rigid or forceful?
That's their goal, man. Their goal is they don't want to invade. They want a peace. They want to. I mean, we're using the word peaceful in American terms. As little bloodshed as possible.
Yeah. Cold War type shit.
Yeah. I mean, if you
manipulate the people into thinking it's what they want, that's the next level to the game. Is you trick the people into asking for it, and then you oblige them. China goes, all right, if you really want it. Yeah. If the Congress really wants it and you guys all want it, fine.
Yeah.
And
get your cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Wait, what does that mean? What does that mean?
The coffee thing, man.
How you get your free cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Wow. Someone's paying attention.
Good. That was good.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
So that is the game. That is the idea.
That's the game. The game, and that is Sun Tzu's Art of War. If you just look at it.
Yeah.
It's been published since the 11th.
It's not even new.
Yeah.
This is thousands of years old or whatever.
This Xiin Ping guy. First of all, there's no way the CIA lets you leave. You're out of your fucking mind. No, because you're really good at this.
I appreciate you.
You're really good at this. You're great at communicating. You're really patient.
I mean, if we ask you,
funny,
are you allowed to say, are you a part of the CIA now?
I am not a part of CIA.
Yeah.
The straight up truth, I am a former overt, my cover has been rolled back, I am not a member of CIA.
Do you have clearance still?
Nope, my clearance expired after 2 years, just like they're supposed to do, right? I've had a private contractor re-up my clearance, so I have a security clearance now under a private contractor, but not a federal security clearance. And I run a business that I'm planning on scaling into the tens of millions, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm telling you without a doubt.
It's really smart. I mean,
if the CIA calls me tomorrow and says, we need your help.
You'll do it.
Without a doubt.
Now,
if they ask me to help introduce them to anybody that I'm on a podcast with, I'd say yes.
Yeah.
But the CIA is the DMV. They don't think that way. They don't work that way. They don't take risks.
Yeah.
The risk of me actually working for them and then that becoming publicly known is too great for them. So that's on them, man. I'm doing what I can do.
I guess what I meant by when I said you still work for the CIA is not that you get a check.
Yeah.
In the same way that like a Mark Zuckerberg or whatever, I think you reach a certain point as a business owner in America where your business becomes, what is a gas or electric? What are those called?
Utilities.
Yeah, where it's almost like a utility, right? And then once you're a utility, if the government calls you for something, you kind of do it, right? You help them. And I wonder if people that are in your position, because I imagine you're kind of unique. I don't know if every CIA operative is like you. Would you say that you have a set of skills that also allows you to succeed as in let's call this entertainment?
So or
infotainment, whatever you want to call it.
I've certainly developed this because it takes a lot of punches before you learn how to do this stance.
Gotcha.
Right? And it just so happened that I had no other options except to take some punches for a while.
Got it.
And that's how I kind of found my voice in this space.
Got it. Okay. Because, and I do want you to talk about your business because I think put it this way, maybe you should tell people what the business does. Because I think it's, after listening to you, incredibly effective.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
But I don't think CIA is letting you go. I don't think they're paying you, but I think that you could be incredibly useful to them.
I honestly hope so. And that's the same thing every former CIA officer says is we hope that one day CIA will wake up and realize that we can do a great deal to bring the community back in support of the national security infrastructure. Because when there's nothing that bridges the community with the national support and national security infrastructure, conspiracy theory reigns and distrust reigns because we fear what we don't understand.
Yeah.
I'm not sharing any national security secrets here. I'm just telling people like, hey, we're the DMV at CIA. It's staffed with a lot of hardworking, dedicated people who are young, who are trying to make a career and abandoning that career because of an old guard and old way of doing
We're
things.
running like the DMV, and China's running like Apple.
There we go.
Like Apple sees they're always ahead of the game, it seems.
And it's not necessarily because of innovation at China like it was at Apple. It's just because it's either
Planning.
play or get the fuck out of the way. That's how they work, right?
Okay.
So my company, Everyday Spy, our mission is spy education to break barriers. So I teach people real-world spy education. Facts about CIA, facts about spy systems, spy frameworks, spy ways of thinking, spy's way of keeping yourself safe. If it has any grounding in real-world espionage or real-world spy tactics, my mission is to teach that to the everyday person so they can use it to keep their family safe, their business safe, and their body safe. That's what we do.
But specifically in business, incredibly effective.
It's incredibly effective in not just small business, but also in corporate business.
That's where I saw it. And that's kind of how I assumed you were going to scale it.
Yep,
I mean,
that's
on the mom and pop shop, it's awesome. But like sitting down with these CEOs and learning how to effectively communicate with the people that you might be going up against, how to pull them in as assets, how to extract information for them. I mean, yeah.
And that's what I love what you guys are getting at, and there is value there. But what I found where the value really demonstrates itself is because it's hard, just like spaghetti on the wall, you know, postmodernist art funding in Europe during the Cold War. It's hard to measure that.
Yeah.
Companies have a hard time measuring the real value of communication skills or negotiation skills.
Yeah.
So instead, what we often find is that our clients call us in for very specific, discrete challenges. We had a CFO of one of our clients get deep faked on LinkedIn. And they didn't know who to turn to. But there's this deep fake video on LinkedIn of a CFO, and they're like, what the fuck are we gonna do? Like, because this is all lies that's been created. So they call our company in, we use our network of contacts, and we're saying, hey guys, we've got to follow the money to find out where this deep fake came from, who's behind it, who's funding it, and how do we shut it down?
Sick.
I see. Okay, so you're also problem solving. That's like a crisis management thing.
But that's
too.
where it all starts. Because really, when it comes to adding value to people, just like that cup of coffee, you have to add immediate value. You can't add the promise of future value. You have to add immediate value. So when people are in their the position where they're in the most
vulnerable,
need, and they come to you and they say, can you do this? It's very helpful to have a set of skills where you can do things nobody
And
else
at what
can.
point do you tell them you created the deepfake video so that they
That's actually fucking genius.
Giving away CIA training, that's not going against like whistleblowing or giving away CIA tricks?
So the thing that CIA protects is called their sources and their methods. And what they mean by sources and methods are sources of active current intelligence collection and methods by which those sources are being collected against. So when you teach a framework, like understanding human psychology of reciprocity, that's not a CIA secret.
It's not specific to them. They're taking it from some book that, oh, the fuck is that guy?
Chris Voss?
No, well, Voss is a CIA guy, but there's a book called Influence by Cialdini, I think his name is.
Cialdini,
Cialdini, how do you pronounce it? But yeah, so I imagine some of the tactics are coming from that. Right, so some of these things exist in the ether, and these experts have written about it for years, and the CIA have probably distilled it down to the most effective, like the sharpest tack.
Because they need to teach people fast.
Yeah.
And they need to teach people to use these skills in the real world under pressure.
I mean, to me, I'm looking at you. Let's say I have a business, right? I mean, we have a business here, but let's say I have a business with 100 employees, and you need the management of those employees and the management with all those assets, if you will. How do you instill loyalty in them? How do you get people to, I guess, commit to the ideology of this brand that you're all working for? Like, it seems to me like it'd be incredibly effective to go to either military or to CIA training to get the best out of your employees and also make them feel like they're most committed to this belief system or this business. Like, that's a no-brainer.
Right. The place where as much as I joke about CIA being as efficient as the DMV, which is not very efficient, that is true. But what they have become very, very adept at is creating a hyper-loyal structure that keeps secrets. And really, as a business, That's what a business owner wants, is a hyper-loyal group that keeps secrets. And we call that institutionalization. And there's a model for institutionalization. It's a model that was developed by a psychologist, honed over decades of being applied at CIA, that now, because I left CIA and learned these tools at CIA, I can now take what I learned at CIA, the distilled version of what this psychologist put in
incredibly
academic
effective.
terms,
Yeah.
and I can speak about it in layman's terms.
Also, like
Gotcha.
hiring. Just imagine the value in HR. Yeah, I could see you guys having a lot of value outside of just like singular tasks and singular problems that need to be solved, but really about building the infrastructure for the business. Hiring specifically, like if you know that you need somebody, like let's say you're hiring a manager or like an agent, and that agent is going to have to operate in some murky territory where that guilt complex is going to be an issue. Not speaking about Dove at all, but like for example, for me, like I couldn't do what some of these agents do. Sometimes these agents try to poach me for my agents, right? And like it just feels kind of icky, but they don't have that feeling of ickiness. How can you screen for that?
Yeah.
You could probably develop something very easily that would help you screen for that.
Right.
And then that would distill the hiring process and make it so much more efficient.
Automate the whole thing. I mean, we boil it all down to personalities.
You could have them take a test. You don't even have to meet them until they pass all the requirements. And you're saving weeks of time.
You can have them take a short battery that gives you their personality. You can have an assessment for what type of personality you need for the position. And then you can also automate a step where they have to demonstrate that they're good for the position by carrying out a specific task that's even a profit-generating task or a revenue-generating task.
So they're making money before they're hired.
And then, and that's before they're even hired, right?
Yeah.
And then you can even pay them for accomplishing the task.
Of course.
And you can pay them a portion of the profit that they just earned, right? So now you're indoctrinating them right at the very beginning that if you're going to work for us, you must generate revenue and you will be rewarded based on a profit share of the revenue that you earned.
Have you thought about trying to restructure the CIA, like how it would look for you?
One of my, I have 5-year goals and 10-year goals. And one of my 10-year goals for our company is to have a formal contract with at least 5 members of the intelligence community where we are bringing best practices of corporate America into the
Maybe we should make that a 7-year goal, 2030 goal. Just throwing it out there.
It'd be nice. It'd be nice.
But so essentially, and what problem would that essentially solve?
So the big problem, the lifetime problem, the personal mission problem that I have is I want to keep America as the dominant democracy in the world. We need to remain as the world's superpower.
Yep.
If my kids are going to have kids with American passports and American citizenship, I need to do everything in my power to make sure that the United States remains dominant, which means I need to make sure my business makes as much money as possible to feed GDP, and I need to make sure every client I service makes as much money as possible to feed GDP so we can keep this machine going, especially if we're going through middle school and presidents are going to be fuck-offs and Congress people are going to be dickwads.
Yeah.
We have to keep funding this train until the voting public can mature past that.
Yeah.
So that's my goal. Money is not what I want. Money is the tool that gets me what I want.
What you need. But with the CIA and reforming it, do you have an idea of how the CIA could look?
I think it could look like a very beautiful thing, but that's intelligence reform, and that's the legislative branch and the executive branch working in concert, and that's them opening up to outside civilian consultants. That it's a huge culture change for them if they're going to go down that route.
But you do have an idea of it.
Oh yeah,
Exactly. Just from sitting with you for a couple hours, I think you have it exactly.
I appreciate it. I mean, thank you for the vote of high confidence. I would give myself about 60% vision because you've got to leave space in there for the realities of how things and how people work.
How likely is it any of this happens in your brain?
The
The things you think need to happen.
I mean, I think that in my lifetime, before I die in my hopeful late 80s, I mean, there's a 20% chance that we see significant intelligence reform without a disaster. Because remember,
we had a disaster.
9/11 was what brought intelligence reform the first time.
So you're saying we need another one?
Unfortunately, we are a country that has a very short memory.
We're reactive.
And until an enemy presents itself loud and clear, we don't unify. And China knows that, which is why they don't present themselves as a clear and present danger.
Yeah, because they don't want our unity. They'll wait to the last possible moment.
They've read
That's
the
art of
playbook.
war.
That's our model.
Yeah, don't engage in war until you know you can win.
Wow. So be besties, continue making all our shit. Yeah, wow.
Because we already know that when you invade Taiwan, it's only going to take about 12 weeks for everybody to forget anyways.
That is true. We have a short memory. Wow. So they know they could invade Taiwan. We probably wouldn't do anything. It's like, are we really going to let American soldiers die for Taiwan? It'd be really hard to get American support for that.
What's the public first response on that? For like, are the ships that are in that area supposed to make a first day response if there was an invasion?
So, and that's the big question right there is what is the military doctrine for engaging China?
Day one.
Day one. Because that's the thing. If you have a destroyer off the coast of southern China that launches cruise missiles onto mainland China,
we're at war, baby.
And that destroyer is going to be sunk because it's right at the gates of China, right? So what does that destroyer do? Does it just park itself in the Taiwan Strait?
Or you park yourself in the Taiwan port, and now any attack on Taiwan is an attack on American soldiers.
As long as if you can prevent from attacking that port.
So they'll attack every port, so now you need a ship at every fucking port.
It becomes impossible. Because China knows that you don't piss off Americans unless you kill Americans.
And if you do, we just go crazy.
Yep. So they will find every way possible to engage Taiwan without killing an American soldier. And that's the way to keep America fat and lazy, is just don't hurt our people. And we have a shocking level of forgiveness after that.